The background today to today's meeting, let me say a word about that. The Academy set up a working party to examine scientific research that involved the use of animals containing human material. This might be a whole variety of things: genetic materials, cells, tissues, or whole organs. And the working party is aiming to cast its view fairly broadly. It's not looking just at the value to science of this approach when it comes to understanding or treating human disease. It's also interested in the ethics and acceptability of it. Questions such as where should the boundary, the human-animal boundary, be drawn if you're putting human material into animals, and where might this research lead? The sort of the ethics and the propriety of it, in other words. As part of this, the Academy organised a public dialogue on the issue. The working party's deliberations are not yet complete. The findings are due to be published sometime towards the beginning of next year. But the findings of the public dialogue, which are contributing to this report, are available. They've been made available today.
So the methodology was in two parts. There was a qualitative part and a quantitative part. So the qualitative dialogue, the main part of that was two-day-long sessions, one in Newcastle and one in London, where we got about 20 to 25 people at each, and they came along for 2 days. And during that time, they were given information about this kind of research progressively, and we sort of gauged their opinions as they went through the process. The important thing to note about the qualitative methodology is that these people were all recruited directly from the general public using very tried and tested methods, and they were paid for their time. There was no opportunity for anyone to volunteer to take part. So as far as possible, we got a representative group of the general public. And then there was also a quantitative stage which took place after the qualitative. We used another standard approach, which was to interview about 1,000 people, 1,046 in fact. The findings. Overall, we found that people were broadly supportive or accepting of this type of research. The overriding factor in this support was a commitment to a belief in the importance of research that addresses human health problems. And what we found in the qualitative work was that people generally made a trade-off. So they looked at a piece of research involving animals containing human materials, and they thought about their concerns, and they traded off those concerns against the potential benefits. And nearly always the potential benefits were greater than the concerns. Another feature which was throughout both the qualitative and quantitative research was concern about animal welfare. So people are not they're not comfortable with animals being used in experimentation. And what we found was that concern was translated directly onto this research. So it wasn't nuanced by the fact that we're talking about animals containing human material. The concern was primarily for the animal subject and not the principle of mixing. We talked to people about different organs and how comfortable they felt about different parts of the body or different types of cells being put into animals. And there was no real distinction amongst internal organs, so things like the heart, the liver, blood was regarded much the same. The organs which were regarded somewhat separately were the brain, which raised more concerns about cognition and so on. But at the end of the day, people did conclude that brain research was acceptable. And then the reproductive cells, reproductive system, which did tend to provoke or prompt greater concerns and greater issues for people. The respondents were generally interested in how these things were regulated. I think it's fair to say that that people understood that there were rules and regulations relating to medical science, but they didn't know much about them. And the issues that they wanted a regulation to focus on in relation to this is the type of animal used, how the animal is treated, monitoring the risk of cross-contamination, and also another issue which was who benefits from the research. People were quite keen to stress that the beneficiaries of this sort of research should be ordinary people. And there was a degree of scepticism about how science works and who benefits from science and so on. And finally, we also found through this research a degree of trust, a measured degree of trust in scientists, medical science, and also regulation in the UK. So people were willing to accept and to believe that the science was being done for the right purposes and that it would be done properly. And that was applied to science as a whole and this particular type of research. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.